Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. I'd just like to welcome everybody. My name is Brandon Tankot, and I'm a student of Dr. Demartini, and I'll be your host for the next hour to hour and a little bit. So it's fantastic to have everybody here with us. I see we've got record numbers of attendance and registrations, so I think this is going to be an exciting webinar. While we're getting ready and we're waiting for everybody to come into the room, I'd like everybody to just take a look to the right-hand side of their screen. You'll see a little chat box to the side there. If you could just let us know where you're from. It's always very interesting to see the geographic diversity of everybody that's in the room. If you could just type your name and your surname and where you're from, and we can give a chance for everyone else to come into the room. Hi, Tonya from Bermuda. It's nice to have you with us. Hi, Ken from Calgary. Oskana from Germany. Emilia from London, and now they're really starting to come in. This always happens where I can't read fast enough. Hi, George from Dallas. Elizabeth, we've got from Brussels. Mark from Spain. We've got from South Africa, Pretoria. And we've got from Arizona, Dubai. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for participating, and they're streaming in. We've got people from Jamaica, Melbourne, France. So this is really a global audience this evening. It's fantastic, everyone, to have you here. As I mentioned before, the topic for this evening is how to master your life and live with an inspired purpose. So we'll be welcoming up Dr. Demartini in a few seconds. But in this webinar this evening, you're going to learn how to determine your highest values and priorities in life, achieve in all the areas of your life, define the impact that you want to have in the world, and align your life accordingly. These are some of the topics that Dr. Demartini will be addressing with you to help you live and empower and inspire your life. So stay tuned for these inspiring lessons with Dr. Demartini. Before we get started, though, I just want to run through a few logistics and let you know up front that we are going to be making an offer for you to sign up and participate in Dr. Demartini's breakthrough experience. Of course, this is not a compulsory offer, and all the information that we'll be sharing with you during the course of this webinar is free, but we value your time and we want you to know up front that we will be making an offer at the end of the webinar. Great. With that being said, I also want to tell you to take a lot of notes, grab a pen and paper and be ready. It is a very short webinar, and Dr. Demartini has the ability to share a wealth of information in a very short amount of time, so you don't want to miss any one of those nuggets. Also, I want you to let you know that we'll be shutting down the comments section to the right-hand side as we get started, so you don't be distracted. We'll then open that up a little bit later so that if you have any questions for the Demartini team when we do the offer, you can answer them then. Right, so I would just like to move over and introduce myself quickly. As I said, my name is Brandon Tankot. I'm a student of Dr. Demartini, an entrepreneur and a business owner since the age of 16. I'm a husband and young father of a beautiful 5-year-old son and currently live in Johannesburg in South Africa. And it's an honor and a privilege to host you this evening and to be able to facilitate this webinar with you. And let's get started. I would also like to introduce you now to our presenter, Dr. Demartini, before we welcome him up. Dr. Demartini is considered one of the world's leading authorities on human behavior and personal development. He is the founder of the Demartini Institute, a private research and education organization with a curriculum of over 72 different courses covering multiple aspects of human development. His trademark methodologies, the Demartini method and the Demartini value determination, are the culmination of 44 years of cross-disciplinary research and study. His work has been incorporated into human development industries across the world. Dr. Demartini travels 360 days a year to countries all over the globe, sharing his research and findings in all markets and sectors. He is the author of 40 books published in 29 different languages. He has produced over 60 CDs and DVDs covering subjects such as development and relationships, wealth, education, and business. Each program is designed to assist people to activate leadership and empower themselves in all 7 areas of their life: financial, physical, mental, vocational, spiritual, and family. John, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us here this evening, and welcome.
Well, thank you for having me again. I'm looking forward to our time together again.
Yeah, I don't know who looks forward to these presentations, me or the audience or the team or you, but I always learn a lot, so it's fantastic. John, before we get started, what's happened is we've got a lot of these questions have come in from the audience. I would like to thank the audience for sending through their number one challenge in relating to mastering your life. We built the questions for Dr. Demartini based off of the audience's feedback so that you can can get the solutions to the issues that we've outlined as being the way of moving forward and being inspired in your life. So, John, are you ready? Should we jump into the questions?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Fantastic. We can start off first by defining, what do you mean by mastering your life?
That's good. When I was 18 years old, somehow I had a yearning to want to master my life. So that was the beginning. And I've asked a lot of people around the world, how many of you want to master life? And most everybody puts their hand up. I didn't know what it really meant initially, so it just sounded cool. But the way I define it today, which is what you're asking, is somebody who has empowered all areas of their life. That means they're empowered in their inspired quest, their spiritual quest. They're empowered in their intelligence and their intellect and their mind. They're empowered in business. They're empowered in their finances. They're empowered in their relationship. They're empowered socially. They're empowered in their physical health and well-being. They're literally excelling and empowering all these areas. So a person who is doing what they love and loving their life and is mastering all of them, and each one of those are growing, and they're doing something that they feel called inside to do, that would be a master of life. And so that's been my focus since I was 18. And that's all my research, all my writings, everything I do is pretty well revolving around that. The Breakthrough Experience is dedicated to that. Prophecy One Experience is dedicated. All my programs are really dedicated to self-mastery and waking up the natural leader that we all have had inside. So I'm a firm believer that we have the capacity to do that. And so that's what I'm dedicated to helping people do that.
Fantastic. So why would you say it's important to empower our lives, and why do you emphasize that it's important to empower all 7 areas of life? Why put so much pressure on ourselves to grow and achieve? Why don't we just focus and be satisfied on what we have?
Well, there's wisdom to be grateful, but I don't think I've ever met anybody that didn't have a yearning to want to do more. I have people, I remember when I was in Hawaii one time and I was doing a presentation, the Breakthrough Experience here in Hawaii, and I was actually at a beautiful home on the North Shore and of Oahu. And there's a man and woman there that hosted it. And he was claiming that he was satisfied. He had everything he wanted and everything else. And his wife came up and hit him with a towel afterwards. And so, what are you talking about? You're always bitching about not having this and not having that, not having this. And he just went humbled. And I think that's the purpose of a spouse, to make us authentic. But it was quite interesting. She was letting him know that that wasn't really true. He was putting on sort of a facade for the group. But the reality is we have a yearning to want to do more with our life. And no matter how much we've accomplished and no matter what we've achieved, we have a capacity to do more tomorrow. So we have a yearning to want to go out and do more with our life, to be grateful for what we get to do, but at the same time, do more with our life. I would say that any area of your life you don't empower, somebody's going to empower your life over you, overrule you. So in other words, if you're not empowered intellectually and expanding your mind and developing specialized knowledge that's meaningful to you, that you're inspired to learn, and everybody wants to learn what's meaningful to them. If they're not expanding that and building that, you'll be told what to think. And we don't even realize, most people don't realize that they've injected the values, the ideologies, the thinking process, the paradigms, the conventions, the mores, the traditions of the people around them. And there's very few people that actually think for themselves. And they're independent thinkers and original thinkers. They're very few. I was told by a teacher many years ago that if you make people think, they'll freak. But to freak out, but if you make them think they think, they're okay. Very few people they live in anxiety if they have to think for themselves and solve their own problems most of the time. But the real truth is we have a yearning to want to have our autonomy and to think for ourselves and have transcendence and empower ourselves with original ideas. We also have a desire to not be told what to do. So if we don't empower ourselves as an entrepreneur, we'll be working for somebody else. And even if you're not working and you're working at home and your husband or wife is taking care of you financially, you're still having to work for them and told what to do many times if you're not empowered. So if you're not empowered in business or a career path, you'll be told what to do. So you'll be told what to think or told what to do in those first two. The third one is economically. Believe it or not, less than 1% of the world's population becomes financially independent. And that means that they're going to be working their whole life for money as a slave instead of having it work for them as a master. And so a person who masters finances is ones who learns sustainable fair exchange and make sure they does a service for people and helps them have fair exchange and equanimity within themselves, and not narcissistic or altruistic, but to have a fair exchange that's sustainable and mastering their wealth potential. Because if not, they'll be told what they're worth at the end of their life by the government, with Social Security in America at least. And most governments have a very pittance amount for you at the end. And so that's a disempowered state. The next one is relationships. And a lot of people walk on eggshells around the relationship or have affairs. I mean, I looked at the stats recently, and it's over 50% of the people in the world have affairs or divorce or whatever. They're not empowered in their relationship. So they're not fulfilled. They haven't learned how to communicate what they value in terms of the other person's values, and how to see how what their person is helping them. So that because they're not empowered there and not mastering that area, there's a lot of chaos around that. And then that spills over into the business, the finance, the health, every area. And then in a social, you have a difference. You want to make a difference, and you want to feel like you've contributed to the planet, and you want to be remembered, and you have a desire to, at the end of your life, have some impact. And we have a leadership inside us. We have the ability to lead and emerge as an influential person. But if we don't empower that area and master that area, we'll probably be told what to do. We'll be told what to think by the society. And we'll be told the propaganda that the media gives us and the politicians give us. And we have a inner sense that there's probably some skewed information there. I know for a fact, I travel around the world, and I can see other countries' view of the U.S. and the U.S.'s view of others. And when I'm in those countries, I see something totally different. So I see that there's propaganda in almost every country. And then you have physical. And if you don't empower yourself and master yourself physically, you'll probably have an excess of organs or deficiency of drugs and have some organs cut out or some drugs taken in. And you statistically may not be in the best position. And spiritually, if you don't empower yourself spiritually and master that area, then you're probably going to be told what to believe in a sense of spiritual constructs. And many of them are anthropomorphism or zoomorphisms, and they're basically dogmatic in some respects, and sometimes polarizing human beings into the right and wrong in this clan and that tribal group and this kind of thing. And the reality is that there's a higher, more universal, transcendent spiritual awareness that people have access to. And if they don't master life and empower that, the probability of that being part of their life diminish. So I was interested in empowering all of them. And I found that every area of our life we don't empower, other people will overpower. And the more areas that we're not empowered in, that people overpower, the more likely we feel like the world's got a conspiracy against us. We feel like we're being bullied by the world. And all that is the challenge and the pressure coming in from the outside, because we're not commanding and demanding our excellence from the inside. If we don't fill our day with high priority actions that inspire us from the inside, we are overruled and inundated by everybody else's expectations on the outside. So mastering life is what I wanted to do for myself. And Albert Einstein
Hi, everybody. We seem to have a really unplanned glitch. You can hear me. Can people click? I think there we've got John back. If you can just in the message box type in if you can hear us, so then we can carry on.
I think we've got it.
John? Yeah,
Yep,
we've got
there we
John
go.
back.
And I'm back too.
Sorry, everybody.
Can you hear me?
Fantastic. Great. John, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, we're back on. Hopefully we didn't disturb too many people with that delay.
I think people were staying in tune and were listening there. So I think let's just refresh. What we were covering was this empowering all 7 areas of life, and why it's important to focus on all the 7 areas and not just one individual area. And you mentioned what I heard last was why it's very important that anything you don't empower will be overpowered by somebody else. So maybe let's just pick up from there, and then we'll roll into the next question.
Well, that was it. I think I summarized it before it went off. That if you want to master your life, any area that you don't empower, other people will control and overpower. If you don't fill your day with high priority actions that inspire you, your life will fill up with outer distractions from other people infiltrating your life, imposing what they value onto you and distract you. And then you'll be more of a follower and a sheep instead of a shepherd and a leader. And we have the capacity to empower all areas. It's just a matter of, are we willing to do it? Are we willing to learn the methods and principles that allow that? That's what I've dedicated my life to all these years. And I'm absolutely certain that if you apply those principles and those methods over time, you will gradually unfold that leadership and mastery. There's no doubt in my mind. So I think that that's what we're here for. That's what mastery is. A life of mastery is that. And I think that there's no reason why a person can't do that. And I'd like to continue so we can, I don't know what the next question is, but I would like to continue so we can help in that arena as we listen.
Fantastic. Dr. Demartini, many of the submissions that we received found that the biggest challenge in mastering their lives was figuring out what to focus on, whether it's in their business or in their careers. Many people felt that they just don't know what inspires them or what's most important to them and how to clarify the focus or direction to move in. Can you address that for us, please?
I'd love to. In the 1980s and 90s, as I was traveling mainly in the United States and some overseas, but mainly in the United States at the time, I asked audiences to write down the 3 top questions that they imagined that they would like to have solved in this presentation. I would have an hour or a day with them, depending. And then I would collect them and put them in the center and bring them up the front, and we'd sort through them and see which ones showed up most frequent, et cetera. And the number one question that I received in the 80s was, how do I stay focused? Which I thought was very intriguing. It's not what I was expecting, but that's what kept showing up. And the reason being is because every human being has a unique set of priorities or values that run their life. And that's a hierarchy of values, I call it, or hierarchy of priorities, or a list of priorities, things that are most to least important in life. Whenever they're doing something that's really high in their value, they're spontaneously inspired from within to go and do it. That means that they don't need motivation, they don't need incentives, they just do it. They just act. Every one of us has something we spontaneously act on and do daily that nobody has to remind us to do. We spontaneously love doing it. We're inspired to do it. But as we go down the list of values, we require ever greater degrees of incentives, motivation, or reminding to get us to do things. You know, we all know about a boy that loves video games that doesn't have to be reminded to do his video games, but he might need to be reminded to do his chores. Well, we all have that in our life. The things that are really important, we do spontaneously. The things we don't, we have to be motivated to do. Motivation is a symptom of life, never a solution. So the reason why people cannot stay focused is because they're assuming what that highest value is, and they're injecting the values of other people and trying to compare themselves to other people and trying to live other people's lives. And as a result of it, they're envying other people, trying to imitate other people, wishing they were somebody other than who they are, and not looking carefully at what they spontaneously are inspired to do from within. and setting goals that aren't really most important to their life and wonder why they keep having difficulty staying focused. See, it takes no effort to stay focused on what you value most. My highest value is teaching. Nobody has to remind me to get up and teach. Nobody has to remind me to research and learn. I've been doing that for 45 years. But you'd have to remind me to cook or to drive or anything low on my values. I'll need ever progressive degrees of motivation to get me to do those things. Or you'll have to link them to what is valuable. So a person who doesn't know what their highest values are, and I see this in the breakthrough experience, I teach the breakthrough experience 17 times now. Every time I do that program, I see people that have been living in a delusion about what's important to them and then wondering why they can't stay focused on it, because what's really important to them is different. And I see this in the financial world. I ask people, how many want to be financially independent? And everybody puts their hand up. But I ask how many people are, and 99% or more put their hand down in a general audience. And the reason being is because most people have a fantasy about the lifestyle of the rich and famous, and they actually have a value on buying immediate gratifying items and consumables that depreciate in value the moment they buy them. And so they become a slave to money, and they never have it working for them because they never buy appreciables and real assets that go up in value that start working for them. And until they have a long-term vision and we're willing to let go of immediate gratification and actually have a value on assets and not liabilities and not consumerism, which is a symptom of an unfulfilled highest value in itself, then they're not going to get ahead financially. But they have the fantasy that they do, and they have the expectation they do, and they think they want to do it. And then they end up going, why can't I stay focused on it? Why am I not disciplined? But the truth is you are disciplined to live by your highest value. And every decision you make is based on what you believe will give you the greatest advantage or disadvantage at that moment, according to what you value most. So if you don't know what your highest value is, that's the most important thing you can learn in life. In fact, the highest value is the purpose in life. Your purpose is a beautiful expression of your highest value. And that is the secret of an inspired life. Living congruent and in alignment with the highest value of your life. Mine is teaching. So as long as I'm teaching, I feel inspired and I'm grateful and I get to fulfill and flourish. If I was to automatically say, I want to open up a cupcake manufacturing company and delivery service, I'd probably procrastinate. And then I'd say, I can't stay focused. See, we are designed to beat ourselves up. We are designed to self-depreciate internally with our audio and our visuals of ourselves the moment we are not living congruently with our highest values. A lot of people think, oh, I keep sabotaging. I keep screwing up. What's wrong with me? But they're just setting goals that aren't them, and they're not even aware that they're doing that. And then they think that there's something wrong, and they think, I need to get rid of negative thoughts. But the reality is that you're designed to live that way when you're not congruent, as a feedback to guide you to what is congruent. Every weekend in the breakthrough experiences, I teach the breakthrough, I deal with this. And their minds are shattered. All of a sudden they go, my God, I can't believe I've been doing this all these years. And I thought what was important. And then when we in the program, we actually narrowed it down and got clear about what it is that they're dedicated to. And they're like, light bulb goes on. I go, no wonder I'm beating myself up. You're designed to, if you're setting goals that aren't yours. That's why I want people to do the breakthrough experience, because the moment you are inspired by what you do and you've got congruency and you're going after what you want, you build momentum. You start having an acceleration of opportunities, because the second you set goals that are congruent with your highest values, you see opportunities, you make decisions quickly, you act on those, and you build momentum. And achievement is really spontaneous. It's amazing. But many people are banging their head against the wall because they're subordinating to other people. They're living in the shadows of others. They're not standing on the shoulders of people around them and owning the traits of the greats around them, as I teach in the breakthrough experience, and giving themselves permission to do something extraordinary in all areas. So yeah, finding out what's highest on your value is one of the most crucial things. The reason I have the value determination process on my website, the reason I go through that in many of my programs, particularly the breakthrough experience, because as far as I'm concerned, that's the starting point for anybody who wants to master life. If they don't get that clear and they keep pursuing illusions, they're designed to self-depreciate. Anytime you're doing things lower on your values, you're designed to self-depreciate as a symptom and a feedback to let you know you are not being you. You're trying to be something that's not really, truly you. No wonder you can't stay focused on it. You're not designed to.
That makes sense. I mean, doing the dishes and the gardening, I've never been able to focus on that.
I'm about as domestic as a flea, you know. I hit the service button on my phone and tell them, my breakfast, please.
That's brilliant. And of course, leading on from that, John, what are the practical tips you can share with the people that maybe don't know what their purpose is or how to determine their values? Are there examples of different exercises they can do to get really, really clear and get clarity on that?
Yeah. I'll build this. For many years, and I'm sure that most of the people who are listening in will probably relate to this, hopefully. For many years in my life, I had moments periodically. I don't know if it's always periodic. That may not be the word, but occasionally and too frequently. Once I learned what it was, I could make it periodic. But it was a tear of inspiration. You know, you may be reading a book and all of a sudden you read something that just brings a tear of inspiration. Or you may be watching a movie or listening to a song or seeing somebody do something that's inspiring, that's amazing. But what I did is I got a tear of inspiration, not a tear of sorrow, not a tear of elation and comedy, but a tear of inspiration, a tear of real gratitude. And there are 3 different tears. They're all chemically different. And I started documenting when those occurred. And I documented what was the content of my mind, or what was the lyrics, or what was the words said in the movie, or what was I reading. And I started documenting, accumulating. I kept a place when the computer came out in the 80s, I started keeping a log of those. And I started writing down all the things that were in my mind at the time of inspiration. And to my surprise, it was guiding me to what I feel is my purpose, which is researching and teaching and traveling the world. I mean, it was everything that I was committed to that was a feedback inside me automatically with a tear of inspiration, letting me know that when I was doing that, I was on track, or there was something in that experience that was telling me that's on track. So keeping a record of every moment of inspiration and documenting the language that's inside the mind or in the book or the movie or whatever, and extracting that, which the ancient Egyptians called words of power. They're basically words that have you access the most authentic and inspired you that's aligned with when you're actually doing something you love. And I went through about 30 songs that brought tears to my eyes over my life. And I put all the lyrics that occurred while I listened to the song and I got the tear. And I wrote it all out, wrote all the information. And from that, it was almost guiding me to what my mission was. It was just amazing. So that's one. Then looking at who specifically you most consistently get inspired to be around or to look at or to read about or to study or to watch on movies or whatever. What's common to the people who inspire you? That became one of the value determinants of the value determination process. Because I looked at myself, and the people that have inspired me through the ages have been the great philosophers and great spiritual teachers and the great thinkers through time. That is one, because I wanted to be a great philosopher through my life, to be able to add wisdom and share wisdom and things. And that was my dream. So anytime I'd read about them and I'd go, wow, what an amazing thinking process, I would get a tear of inspiration and I would document that. And they were inspiring, reading their biographies. So reading the biographies of extraordinary people that bring into tears of inspiration, to me, is a great exercise. And finding out when that tear comes and what's the content, again, is an exercise. It's an ongoing life exercise. That was helpful. Then doing the value determination process, which to me is the highest priority thing you could do to determine what your highest value and what your purpose is, because your purpose is that highest value. And then look at what has been common to all of the businesses and activities you've done in your life that have been meaningful. Let's say you work at a company and you don't like everything in it, but there may be 4 or 5 little action steps you do in there that is meaningful, that you do love. You may not like the other, and you may not have had the chance to delegate that yet, and you may not have learned to link that to what is valuable to you so you can be inspired by it. But look at the components that are inspiring, and you'll see that there's a common thread to some of that information, some of that, the common threads of it. If you take the common threads, the inspired things that you bring a tear of inspiration, and you go through the value determination process, I'm absolutely certain they'll dovetail into one corner focus. And your purpose is an expression of your highest value. It's the most efficient and effective pathway to fulfill the greatest amount of voids with the greatest amount of values in your life. See, every time we judge something and we infatuate with somebody, we're too humble to admit what we see in them is inside us. If we resent somebody, we're too proud to admit what we see in them is inside us. Both that too humble and too proud leaves a void, a deflected part of us, a disowned part that creates a void that drives us to own and have reflective awareness and be able to see that the world around us is a reflection of us. The seer, the seeing, and the seen are the same. So all of our judgments create voids that eventually want to be loved and integrated and brought back into equanimity and equity, and is trying to get us back to our values. So our purpose is the most efficient and effective pathway to fulfill the greatest amount of voids from our judgments with the greatest amount of value, which is love. And it's allowing us to do what we love and love what we do. So we can't wait to get up in the morning with inspiration to go and do it, because we feel that we're integrating ourselves and putting together the conscious and unconscious part of us into a super conscious state where we see a vision. The moment we live by our highest values, the executive center comes online. We see inspired vision. We see what's possible. We get literally a vision. Those with a vision flourish. Those without it perish, as they say. We also get a strategic planning, which is why I do planning for life, master planning kind of constructs. And then I also want to make sure that you understand that if you're in that state, you also have a desire to want to take action. And you also have self-governance. So you're least distracted by infatuation, resentments, which are the distractions of life. So you're more masterful when you live by your highest values. Your purpose is an expression of your highest value. Your identity, the ontological identity of your being, revolves around your highest value. If your highest value is raising children, you'll call yourself a mother. If your highest value is running businesses, you'll call yourself an entrepreneur. Your identity revolves around your highest values. Your teleological purpose revolves around your highest values. Your epistemological greatest knowing, your specialized knowledge that gives you the competitive advantage, it revolves around your highest values. So I identify that top value is the purpose. My top value is learning the laws of the universe, helping people master life, helping people expand their awareness and potential in life. And I want to do that around the world. So I'm living it, and that's the purpose. And that's the key to a masterful life, living congruently and prioritize on a daily basis on the things that mean the most to you, that is most fulfilling, and then linking all the other areas to your life to that. So you see that empowering all of them makes your life on the way, not in the way. And that is such an empowering. That's in the breakthrough experience. I show people exactly how to do that and how important it is to do that, because otherwise you're drained, you're self-depreciating, you lose your confidence, you live in other people's shadows, you try to be somebody you're not, you beat yourself up, you question yourself, your self-worth goes down, your willingness to receive economics, grow wealth, have the relationship you desire, all those things are hindered when you don't live congruently with your highest value. I mean, I could go for days on this stuff. But anyway, that answers it.
Yeah, it's so beautiful to me that your purpose is actually innate in you, and you just have to uncover it by being authentic and true to your values. To me, that's really beautiful.
I got to say something. I was in London, and there was a lovely lady at the breakthrough experience in London, and she put her hand up and she said, "Dr. Demartini, I just don't know what my purpose is. I can't seem to find my purpose." And I said, "Bullshit." I said, "Listen, right now, answer my questions. What specific thing do you do every single day that nobody has to remind you to do, that you love doing every single day, that you just do every day, nobody reminds you, you do it?" And she kind of stared and she said, "Well, take care of my kids." I said, "Do you love doing that?" She says, "I love taking care of my kids." I said, "Is that what you do spontaneously? Do you get up in the morning? Is that one of the first thoughts that come to your mind?" She goes, "Yeah." I says, "And do you have a vision of them in your life and the way you want their life and how them doing something amazing in their life?" She says, "Yes." I said, "When you don't know what your purpose is, that means you're comparing whatever that is that's spontaneous to something else. So who are you comparing your life to? You can't not know your purpose unless you're comparing your life to somebody else you think you should be like." And she said, "Well," I said, "your purpose is around raising beautiful children." She said, "Well, but is that enough?" And I said, "Well, Rose Kennedy said that she dedicated her life to raising a family of world leaders. Was that enough? She made great leaders out of the world." I said, "How do you know that you can't make great children and do something extraordinary through them?" And she goes, "Well, that's all I've ever wanted to do." And I said, "But so the only reason why you think you don't know what your purpose is because you're comparing yourself to other women that you think have a better life or whatever. So who is that?" She said, well, I've got a friend that she's got a business and she's got a couple kids. And I think, well, I should have a business. I said, but the should lets you know that that's not you. That's an imperative language that's injected from somebody you've put on a pedestal. She goes, well, I can't seem to get ahead financially and business wise. I just, my kids are always needing my attention. I said, that's because that's your highest value. And she started crying. I said, you're comparing yourself to other women that have a different set of values. And if you're a cat trying to learn how to swim as a fish, you'll beat yourself up. If you're a fish trying to climb a tree like a cat, you're going to beat yourself up, as Einstein said. But if you're a cat, learn to climb the tree. And if you're a fish, swim. You're a woman who's dedicated to raising a beautiful family, of beautiful children, and says, and give yourself permission to be that, and that's your purpose. And she just cried, and she said, that's all I've ever wanted to do. I said, well, quit comparing yourself to other people and give yourself permission to do it. That's what I love about the breakthrough experience, because people can go through and even read about these things, but actually putting them through it and actually forcing them to push through that and get to that, and having them to have tears of gratitude and seeing that deep inside they have a yearning to do something like that, and then connect on it, and then give themselves permission to not subordinate to other people and let everybody else put pressure on you to be something you're not. This is the key to an inspired life and how to empower it and master your life. So, yeah, I could go, like I said, I'm starting warming up.
And a number of people said that they feel stuck as a result, or they feel stuck, and as a result of feeling stuck, they experience, frustration or sometimes depression. Can you address what they can do to break through that current situation, or how to address some of those emotions that they're feeling? They just need to cross that first hurdle in order to maybe get going.
Well, depression is a comparison of their current reality to a fantasy that they're addicted to. And I'm going to say it again, depression is a comparison of your current reality to some fantasy and unrealistic expectation you're addicted to. So you have an unrealistic expectation if you ever live or trying to live outside what you value most. If I expected myself to open up a cupcake manufacturing delivery service, I'd probably be depressed because I wouldn't get around to doing it. I'd procrastinate, hesitate, and frustrate. I wouldn't be disciplined. But if I set a goal to travel the world and teach how to master life, then, man, I would get up every day and do 18-hour days. So it's anytime you set a goal that is not congruent with your highest value, you are designed to self-depreciate. And then you'll keep banging your head against the wall, and you'll keep thinking, well, I keep sabotaging. I can't stay focused. What's wrong with me? And then you'll be depressed because you keep banging your head against the wall, trying to be somebody you're not. And trying to subordinate to everybody else's expectation and trying to live in their values is usually the case. And so anytime you expect yourself to live a one-sided world, pleasure without pain, happy without sad, kind without cruel, give without take, and all one-sided stuff, that's delusional. The Buddha says the desire for that which is unobtainable and the desire to avoid that which is unavoidable is the source of human suffering. So if we live in this fantasy that we're supposed to be one-sided beings, always up, never down, always positive, never negative, always kind, never cruel, that's hogwash. That's so antiquated in childish stages of awareness. You got to realize that you're both nice and mean and kind and cruel, and you're all of it. I don't try to get rid of any part of it. I learned a long time ago, trying to get rid of half of yourself is not the way to love yourself. You have it all. You need every one of parts of those. All those parts are needed in you. So if you set an unrealistic expectation to be one-sided, and you set an expectation to live outside your own highest values, and you expect others to be one-sided or them to live in your values or outside their values, you're going to be depressed. Life's going to be depressing. You're going to beat yourself up because you're thinking, what's wrong with me? Because you have an unrealistic expectation. Set real expectations with real goals that align with the real values that are objectively balanced and not fantasies of one-sidedness. It would allow you to have strategic planning and to mitigate risks of the challenges and pursue challenges that inspire you each day. You won't have that feeling. If you get up and think about what you can do to make a difference in the world and to tackle the challenges the world is facing and come up with solutions, you won't have a problem worrying about yourself. You'll be too busy serving people, making a difference in the planet. And then you'll have the economics and the social influence and the vitality, because we have all the rewards when we're living wisely.
That's brilliant. And I can just imagine if people actually tap into that, how powerful that can be based on their values and how that can contribute to shifting the world, like I say. Can you outline for us, John, the evolution of the human being from the perspective of the different levels of empowerment, the common stages a person has to move through, i.e. from base to actualized, or the different types of thoughts and behaviors that correlate with each of the phase of an evolution of a human being?
Yeah, I would say that I mentioned in the breakthrough experience that there was a psychologist named Kohlberg that believed that the bottom level of moral development was avoid pain and seek pleasure. This is the animalistic predator avoidance, prey seeking, survival with food and to avoid being eaten by something. That's the basic, most primitive level. You see this in the most primitive absolutisms and dogmatic religions on the planet. You see this with the autocratic governments on the planet. You see this most primitive, disempowered people that live at the bottom like that end up looking for daddy figures or artificial God figures or whatever to try to protect them. And they're disempowered. And I confront them. They believe that the world is conspiring against them and they need a savior and they need all kind of stuff out there that's going to rescue them from their own disempowerment. And that's the lowest level. Then there's the subordination to individual authorities, where they then subordinate to their mother, their father, their preacher, their teacher. And this is where they're a little bit more empowered, but they're still living under the rules of people on the outside. And you can't be inspired living always in the rules of other people, because you're going to be trying to live by what they expect. Nobody's dedicated to your fulfillment except you. So anytime you subordinate to other people, they're going to be living according to their values and expecting you to do what will help them fulfill theirs. So you've got internal conflict. A lot of chronic fatigue syndrome that comes from that. The third one is the subordination to collective authority, where you're now fitting in as a sheep into conventions and traditions, and just because the majority of people do that. But imagine if the majority of people are poor. The majority of people work for other people. The majority of people are not masters. So if you fit into the mass consciousness, you're guaranteed to be a spectator at a game instead of being on the field playing as a leader on the game. You're going to be sheep and not shepherds. So that's the third one. The last one is transcendence. And this is the highest level that people made when they finally allow themselves autonomy to think for themselves and have original thinking and make the difference. How are you going to make a difference if you're constantly bombarded by everybody else's expectation and try to dilute yourself and be like everybody else? You lose your difference. You make a difference and stand out instead of fitting in when you live congruent to your values, your highest values, and liberate yourself and give yourself permission to be you and shine. And so the level of evolution is you go from seeking immediate gratification to looking at long-term vision, seeking pleasure with hedonism and a look for eudaimonia, which is well-being, wholeness, true wealth, by the way. Wealth means weal or well-being. And giving yourself permission to prioritize your life. Without prioritizing your life and living according to what's really valuable to you, you're going to end up at the bottom, avoiding pain, seeking pleasure. Addicted behavior is a compensation for unfulfilled highest values. In compulsive eating, compulsive sweets, compulsive foods, compulsive drugs, teas, coffees, anything that's a stimulant to keep you going is a compensation for unfulfilled highest values. I don't live to eat. I eat to live. I don't use stimulants. I'm inspired. I don't need a drug or some sort of sweets or alcohol to function. In fact, I drink water, which is a universal solvent, which is the wisest thing I think to drink. And so you want to live not to eat, but to eat to live. You want to use fuel and quality foods selected by the highest priority things to get the maximum and mastery of your life. And so you don't want to eat more to gain, people think that if they eat more food, they'll gain more energy, but it's like fighting for peace. You're not going to do that. But eating moderately or even lightly, you tend to live longer. Caloric restriction is to your advantage. So living a masterful life is giving yourself permission to live by your highest values, to become more objective, not subjectively biased, because that leads us to a highly judging state, which disempowers us. Because anything we're infatuated with occupies space and time and it runs us. Anything we resent occupies space and time and it runs us. We only run ourselves when we're actually in a state of love, when we're actually thankful for life and we can love what we're doing and we love the people we're around and we're mastering our perceptions. In the breakthrough experience, I teach people how to do exactly that, how to master their perceptions, transform their emotions that distract them, prioritize their life, and give themselves permission to do something, and to own the traits of the people around them that they're subordinating to liberate them so they can empower and realize there's nothing missing in them. They just think there's things missing. Therefore, they're thinking, I got to be something else. But the real truth is there's nothing missing in you. You have something extraordinary inside to give the world. And I love help people. That's why I do the breakthrough experience and all these things that I do are basically for that objective.
Brilliant. A lot of people also said, John, that things are outside of them. They get in the way of being able to focus on their vision or master their lives. So what would you suggest is wise for them to deal with these outside, say in inverted commas, outside influences such as people's demands, events, demand on their time, or challenges that get in way of their actual, or what they think their intentions are?
I wrote out one time in one of my programs, I wrote out, and I shared it in a breakthrough experience. I shared common things you could say, like thank you. Right now, I have a lot on my plate that are very high in priority, and I wouldn't be able to do justice to what you're requesting at this point, and it wouldn't be fair to you to not give it my all, and it wouldn't be fair to me to not give my highest focus to my highest priority, because then I would be self-depreciating, and I wouldn't be able to give you something that's valuable. So thank you, but I'll have to turn it down. Thank you. And then when you're really busy doing high priority things, it's easy to say no to people. It's when you're not busy that you're vulnerable. That's why Parkinson's law states, if you don't fill your day with high priority actions, it fills up with low priority distractions. And all the time and space you have will get filled with junk if you don't fill it with priority. And so the filling your day with meaningful things and master planning out your life and master planning your day and having an agenda for the day, you'll go way more and accomplish more than if you sit there and let the world run you from the outside, and whatever happens, just go with the flow, man. I think that is usually the people that I know that do the most in life have an agenda and they're clear about what they're doing. They leave open time for their meditations and their time to think and time to whatever they want to do, exercise, whatever it is that's meaningful to them. They structure it. So they organize it. They may have a little attitude on it, but they want to have command over their life, or otherwise, I think everybody here has been in a situation where they know that they don't have anything to do. Weird stuff fills a day, unexpected stuff. Entropy takes over a mind that's not negentropic, and chaos takes over a mind that's not ordered and organized. And so, in the breakthrough experience, I help people identify what their values are and how to prioritize their life and how to say no. And the way you say no is thank you, but no thank you. Thank you. I would love to be able to be of service to you, but right now I've got my plate full and it's not fair to you. And or no, that doesn't inspire me. Just tell them that doesn't inspire me. Thank you, but no thank you. I have people all the time asking me to do things that I go, thank you, but no thank you. Right, I've got way more on my plate than that would not be high priority. Just tell them the truth. The truth. They may be offended by the truth up front, but they'll just respect you in the long run. And the very people that are upset with you because you tell them the truth are usually the people that respect you, and they'll value you more.
Yeah, that's very true. And it reminds me of that movie that Jim Carrey did, the Yes Man movie. I just thought now, the opposite of that, the No Man, I wondered how that movie would play out in that respect, because he did just go with the flow. So the power of no is very profound. Many people have also shared that they feel that money or business or their health was getting in the way of mastering their lives. Can you share some ideas or exercises that people can do to empower each of the areas of their life and their so-called lack in these areas of life, or the way that they see that lack in their life?
This is the question I've been hoping for. As I teach, I just did a beautiful program in Romania. I loved it. It was a lovely group of people in Romania. They were amazing. And I shared with them how to help children become engaged at school or at home. See, every human being wants to fulfill their highest value. And so anything they see that is assisting them and is linked and helping them fulfill their highest value, they'll become engaged in and they'll do without resistance. So one of the greatest questions you can ask in life is, how is whatever I'm here to learn, whatever I must learn in school or at work, how does it help me fulfill what's most meaningful to me? Once you've determined what your values are, which you go on my website and do, or be at the breakthrough experience and learn, then you want to ask this question, because the quality of your life is based on the quality of the questions asked. How specifically is the information I'm learning right now or about to learn, how does it help me fulfill what I value most? And don't answer it one time, and don't say, I don't know. Don't allow that. That's a loser thinking. Go and ask how specific to do it and answer the thing. Because it's never what happens to you on the outside, it's how you perceive it. And the way you perceive it is based on the questions you ask. So if you ask questions that help you link what you're doing to what you value most and make the link and keep making links, you'd be surprised. You'll excel. I did this in Vancouver recently also. And there was a lovely lady there that was having difficulty doing a certain thing. She was wanting to learn a particular language to help her in her spiritual quest and her career. And she was resistant about it. She was like fighting this, not wanting to learn that language. There's a lot of work involved. And I just asked her, how specifically is learning this language going to help? And I answered it. I think we answered it 16 times. And then the penny dropped, the popped. And all of a sudden she got tears in her eyes and she goes like, now I'm ready. I want to go do it now. So you don't want to stop asking that question until you can't wait to get up in the morning and do that thing or learn that thing that you're going to learn. So if you want to empower your intellect, just know that your intellect is most maximal in your highest value area. So anything that you're studying, if you concentrate on, see, I love to create original ideas. So what I did is I made a list of every ology and discipline known around the world and that you could study. And then who are the founders of the ologies? And then I read the biographies and the lives and the texts and the original teachings of those individuals. So it awakened originality in me. And so I was inspired. I love reading the inspired writings of people that started new industries. But if I link whatever I want to study to what I value most, I will absorb the information, retain the information, and apply it. And that's the best way to learn. You learn things that you're inspired by. Everybody has an area where they don't forget things. And everybody has an area that if somebody says something, you forget it in seconds. So the thing is to link what you're doing to that. Now in business, to empower business, again, the same thing. You want to ask how specifically is whatever I'm doing in my work helping me fulfill what I value most? So whatever the job duty is and responsibility is, and the primary mission, vision, and objectives of the company or department of the company, how are they helping you fulfill your values? Because you're not going to work for the sake of a company. You're going to work to fulfill your values, your highest values. If you can't see how it's helping you fulfill your highest values, you won't have meaning at work. You'll be uninspired. You'll want to go and take a coffee break, a tea break, who knows what break, to get away and want to eat and consume and get away from it because it's not inspiring to you. That's crazy. That's not how you're going to empower the business. You're fully engaged and present and dedicated to serving and solving problems is how you get ahead in business. And so linking what you're doing on a daily basis and prioritizing it and delegating other priorities and getting on with what you do most. You know, I research, write, travel, teach, and the rest of it is delegated away. And it makes it freeing for me to get on and do what I love doing. Because if I had to do it all, I wouldn't probably get anywhere. I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't delegated it. With all the teams and the people that help me today, I'm where I'm at because of those teams, not just because of my own individual efforts, but all those people that I delegate to. They're the ones that help me get what I want to get done. So helping by delegating that, getting on to priority and linking whatever you can't delegate yet, or you haven't found the person to delegate to it, link it to your values, at least temporarily until you can able to delegate it. And that way you're inspired and not drained, and you're inspired by your energy to go and do things. Because it's never what happens to you, it's your perception of it. That's the master is the one who sees that it's all about their own perception and their own actions. Take command of your perceptions, take command of your decisions, take command of your actions, and you're a master. But most people don't realize that those are the only three things they have control over. So if they're not controlling those three things and other people are controlling those things, there's no way they can be a master. And the next area is finance. If you don't have a value on wealth building, it's not going to ever show up. I know people that have actually inherited money and it just squandered away because they didn't have a value on it. You see this on the lotto winners every year. They have this fantasy that they've got $20 million and then within a year it's gone. And then they usually have tragic lives because they don't know how to manage it. The hierarchy of your values dictates your financial destiny, and whoever has the highest value of money is who ends up with it. So money circulates through the economy from those who value it least to those who value it most. That's why in the breakthrough experience, I put so much emphasis on determining values and creating your life congruently according to what you value. So if you want to have financial wealth, it's not going to happen if you don't have a value on serving people and getting up, building a business that serves vast numbers of people, managing a business where it makes a profit, saving a portion of that, learning how to invest and step it out of savings into investments, being willing to accumulate it so you don't just blow it on things. And it's not about lifestyle. The people that are selling you lifestyle at a seminar on finances are not the one to learn from. They're going to be the one wealthy, not you. The one they're teaching you actually how to manage money wisely and how to value it and value serving people are the ones you want to listen to. And then also creating a financial cause, something that leaves a mark in the world that's inspiring. That is important for wealth building, but it's all value driven. In the breakthrough experience, I explain this, and I literally go through and show how people manage their money and they spend it according to their values. So if they don't know that, they can't empower it. So I show them how to shift their values and link things to what their current values are, link wealth building to that so they can empower it, because you can actually empower all areas. I've definitely created original ideas on the planet. I've definitely built an international business. I've definitely, with the help of people, I've also become financially independent. All 7 areas of my life have been able to be empowered by doing this method. I've got a beautiful relationship. I think she's even listening on, hopefully. And that's an amazing thing to have somebody that you respect and you love and that you can spend energy with. That's magnificent. So all areas, social leadership and influence and physical vitality and being inspired by something. That's the way we're here. Our life is designed to be that way. And then when it comes to relationships, whatever is the highest value in the person that you're with and whatever your highest value is, if they don't see a link between them, it's hard to have a relationship. So you want to ask how specifically is whatever they're dedicated to helping you fulfill what you're dedicated to, and how's what you're dedicated to help them fulfill what they're dedicated to, and link the two values. And the more you link them, the more you have communication, more dialogue, not alternating monologue. And in relationship to social, just know that if you're living congruently and you're living by design and you're structuring it, you spontaneously get in the executive center. You spontaneously see a vision. You spontaneously believe in yourself. You spontaneously have self-worth. You expand your space and time horizons. You see what's possible. You gain confidence. You feel you have something to influence. People treat you that way because they see that you achieve. And leadership spontaneously emerges when you live congruently. That's why it's so important. That's why in the breakthrough experience, I am just pounding that home to make sure that people get clear about what that is. And then finally, in the physical day, when you're living by your highest values and you're more objective and you're more even-minded and not subjectively biased and emotionally distorting, you have the greatest physiology. Extreme infatuations or extreme resentments, extreme pride, extreme shame creates illness as a feedback to guide us back to authentic self where we love. So our physical body can be empowered by living congruently and doing what we're inspired by. People who live doing something they love to do, they don't burn out. I went to the dentist yesterday and my blood pressure was 98 over 54. 98 over 54.
Wow.
And the lady said, she said, you got a really healthy blood pressure. I said, I know. She said, it's like a teenager's. I said, I know. And then she goes, that's bizarre. I've never seen one that low. I said, well, this is the first time you've done it. All the other nurses that come in here and clean my teeth or whatever, they usually notice this. But it's always right at the 100 or 98 or 96 over 54 to 56. It's right in that area. And I do long hours. I put in the things and I keep crazy schedules and stuff. But when you're doing something you really love to do, you don't have cardiovascular disease. Cardiovascular disease is a symptom of fighting uphill, trying to force yourself with so-called willpower against your own nature. I'm not teaching people willpower in the breakthrough experience. True willpower is spontaneous will of your intention and attention to what inspires you without effort. It's effortless. So if you're having to fight yourself and force yourself with gimmicks to get yourself to do things you don't really want to do, I need to be reminded all the time, you're not living congruently. I don't need to be reminded to do what I love doing. And what your innermost dominant thought is a sign of your highest values. When you're living congruently, you think about it, you dream about it, you focus on it. So your physical body is trying to give you symptoms to guide you to live authentically. We're autotelic and we're designed to be telic. And telic means purposeful. And so we're everything that's going on in life in all 7 areas trying to get us purposeful. And finally, spiritually, I'm not promoter of any particular religion, although I've studied them all. I've studied 3,000 different religions. And I'm doing a presentation on comparative religions very shortly. But I'm not interested in any subordinating to any dogma of any religion on the planet. I love to find the most universal construct of love and appreciation on the planet, because I find that most of the people that follow a religious construct are usually following somebody that didn't follow anybody. It's quite interesting. They're being sheep following some shepherd who didn't follow anybody. I'd rather find out what all those leaders did in their spiritual understanding and then duplicate and live that way and live an inspired life and then make a difference. Instead of having to be one of the followers of the 2 billion people following some religion, I'd rather go and influence 2 billion people and create something that inspires them. But I don't want to call it a religion. I'd rather just call it an idea that inspires people. I'm an educator. But I think that if you want to be part of any religion, great. But I wouldn't get caught in it, because most of them are anthropomorphic in nature, and they're basically holding people back from their real highest nature, which is the highest level. So studies true spirituality. Albert Einstein said true religiosity is very empowering. It's an impersonal state of communion with the universe and the laws of the universe and understanding it. He said, it's enough for me on a daily basis to sit in awe over the magnificent intelligence that permeates the universe. We could call it the grand organized design, God, we could call it whatever it is, but it's not the institutional structures of some religious construct that have been limiting and trying to create their own structure And we have to we confuse sometimes those institutions with true spirituality. So give yourself permission to expand the game and use, even if you are in a religion, use it wisely and take it to the highest level, and don't get caught in the dogma. Get on with the inspiration of love and appreciation to humanity, and go out and do something that's amazing in service to humanity, and do it in the name of the spirituality of the religion, and you'll bring the religion to a new level. You'll honor their spiritual construct of the movement that you're part of. So I'm a believer that you can empower all those areas, and I love doing that. In the Breakthrough Experience, that's what I do every weekend, and all the programs I do. I'm interested in that objective, because I think people deserve to live an extraordinary life, amazing life. Be able to say at the end of the life, at the last day of their life, did you do everything you could with everything you're given? You want to be able to say, yeah, I did it, man. I had an amazing life.
That's brilliant. And, a lot of people are also striving for perfection in day-to-day or in their work or their careers. What would you say is holding them back from empowering their lives? What's the difference between striving for perfection and mastering your life?
Well, Leibniz, in his Discourse on Metaphysics, in the first chapter of the book, he said that there's a divine perfection, a divine beauty, a divine love, a divine order that few people ever get to know, but those that do, their lives are changed forever. And it was not an idealism and not an ideology of a one-sided world that many people are opium of the masses living towards. Because the truth is, if I go up to you and I look straight in the eye and I said, you're always nice, you're never mean, you're always kind, you're never cruel, you're always positive, you're never negative, you're always sweet, you're never bitter, you're always generous, you're never stingy, you're always peaceful, you're never wrathful. I said, isn't that true? You're always that way. They would look at me and go, well, not exactly. I said, well, no, you're always mean, you're never nice, you're always cruel, you're never kind, you're always negative, you're never positive, you're always wrathful, never peaceful, you're always taking, you're never giving. Would that be you? And he goes, well, no. I said, would you agree that you are sometimes nice, sometimes mean, sometimes kind, sometimes cruel, sometimes peaceful, sometimes wrathful, sometimes giving, sometimes taking, sometimes positive, sometimes negative? You go, that's me. We have a built-in thermostat, an intuitive thermostat that lets us know that we're both. And many people think that perfection is one side, and they're striving for that which is unobtainable, because it is unobtainable. It's a foolish thing to pursue. And the other side, they're trying to get rid of, and they're trying to avoid that which is unavoidable. And then they're suffering. As the Buddha said, that's the source of the passionate suffering that people live. Passion means to suffer. You're suffering because you're striving for a one-sided world in a two-sided world. And so when people think that that's perfection, and then they go around saying, well, I'm not perfect, nobody's perfect, and then they set up this fantasy image of somebody in the past, some guru or some great teacher, whatever, that was perfect, which is delusional. The human being is both. And it's, whoever's listening out there, get that, because you're going to torture your life looking for a one-sided world, striving for a one-sided world. You have both sides. You're a hero and a villain, a saint and a sinner, a kind and a cruel. You have everything. And you don't need to get rid of any part of you. You don't need to get one and get rid of the other, because that's futility. And if you think perfection is one side, you're going to be searching for a perfection that will never be obtained. But when you realize that both sides is the perfection, if you understand that's the perfection, that you need them all, because you need both sides in your life. You can't get by without both sides. When you can understand that's the perfection, then true mastery and true perfection match. But if you're thinking one-sided perfection, you will never have mastery that way, because you're looking for that which is unavailable, trying to avoid that which is unavoidable. And I see that the lowest level of moral development is striving for a one-sided nature. Avoid predator, seek prey. Avoid pain, seek pleasure. It's hedonistic. You will never master your life searching for a false perfection in that dogma, because it's not obtainable. There's no evidence of it. We can only make up fabricated mythological characters that supposedly did that, when if we actually met them and their girlfriends or boyfriends, they would tell you that they're just human beings.
And finally, John, the number one question that we collated from everyone in the audience is feedback, which almost every second had, which I found almost every second person had, and I know a lot of people struggle with, is procrastination. How people felt that the number one issue blocking them in empowerment and inspiration was procrastination. What is your advice for those people, myself included?
Well, again, it's the same principle. Anytime you expect yourself to live outside your values, you're going to procrastinate, hesitate, and frustrate. If I expected to do something that was really low on my values, once you understand that your decisions are based on your values, and whatever decision gives you the highest fulfillment of the highest value is what you're going to make. Your brain is set up for risk reward, advantage over disadvantage, and benefits over drawbacks, and it's going to do a decision based on what it thinks it's going to help it get its highest value met. So if you set a goal that's not matching that, you're going to procrastinate, hesitate, frustrate, because you're going to keep unconsciously going towards that which is highest on your value. So when you see you're procrastinating, that usually means if you find something you procrastinate on and you keep not doing it, you got two choices, really three choices. Give it up, let it go, quit going after something that's not real, delegate it to somebody, that's wisest, or temporarily link it to your highest values so you'll do it until you can delegate. But man, don't do low priority stuff. I mean, if you want to devalue yourself and end up, that's the fastest way to devalue your income, devalue your life, devalue yourself in relationship. You know, when a person's looking for a relationship, they're looking for somebody that's empowered in all areas. If you look very carefully, think about this. You asked me in the beginning about why would you want to master your life? Why do you want to empower all those areas? This is what why I do the breakthrough experience, the bottom line. Because the real truth is when a woman is looking for a man, she's looking for somebody that's nice looking, that looks healthy, that looks like they've got enough testosterone to reproduce, that has probably some nice abs and nice teeth and cheeks and eyes and a good proportion. Then she's looking for somebody who's intelligent. And if he thinks that she's attractive, she knows he's intelligent. You know, she's looking for somebody that's got intelligence and has got a smart brain. She's looking for somebody that's ambitious, that wants to go and accomplish things. She doesn't want a little boy to take care of. She doesn't want somebody that's stupid. She wants somebody that has resources. So if she has babies, she's not trapped. She wants somebody that loves and cares about her. She wants somebody that is socially influential and get along with the people she interacts with and she's proud to be part of. And she wants somebody that's also inspired. So we innately, and men want the exact same things. The stereotype of the man wanting just some, pretty girl or whatever is only a small start. The men want all powers. They want women that have all those things too. And so we naturally want that because we're designed to have that. And if we raise the power of all 7 areas, we raise the standard of the relationship we get. And we end up giving ourselves an advantage in the marketplace and in the world. So it's to our advantage to stick to high priority things and empower all of them and learn how to master that. Again, that's why the 2 days of breakthrough is why I tell people don't miss it, because it's too important not to learn that for the rest of your life. Every area of your life is impacted by learning those tools. And if you do that, you get a greater relationship, one that's more empowered, more than respectful. You want to respect the relationship. You get more empowered in finance, more empowered in business, more empowered in all areas. So we only procrastinate as a symptom to let us know that we're expecting to do something that's not friggin' important to us. Delegate it or link it or let go of it.
That's brilliant. I know, just to testify very quickly, in my own personal life, I always struggled to do the accounting side. I love to go make money, love to go do the sales, but the accounting side I struggled with. And I always wondered why at the end of the month my bank balance was empty. And I think I'm making all this money, but where's it going? I'm not accounting for it. And when I linked the two, I still delegated. But I had to make that link in the beginning in order to shift. And it was one of the most profound things as an entrepreneur that I could do. And I think to summarize over the last hour, Dr. Demartini, what do you think is the most important things a person can do to master their lives and live with an inspired purpose starting today?
I want to say something about what you said about the finance. Until I was 28 years old, all the way for the first 27 years of my life, I was pretty good at finding a way of saving some money, but for things. I'd buy money. I'd get money for a bicycle. I get money for a bat. I get money for going on a trip. I get money for clothes. I get money for things. I didn't have the insight yet until I turned 28 to have money to build wealth and to have it work for me. So I was going to spend my life working for it until I finally got the insight that I had to have it work for me. So I started buying assets. So that took a change in my own values and the willingness to give up immediate gratification for a long-term vision. And that was the turning point, my financial destiny. Because I'm financially independent today because that turning point. In the breakthrough experience, I show people how to shift values. So you got to set a goal that matches the values, or you got to shift the values to match the goals, one of the two. And I show you how to do either one in the program to make sure that you have congruency so you can build up momentum and accelerate what you want to do in life. But I'll summarize the 7 areas that I just mentioned here. Identify what it is that you want to learn, because you got to realize you only have so many days left in your life. If you stop and think about it, if you take the number of books that you read in an average month, And it could be anywhere from multiple ones a day, could be a few a month, whatever it is. Multiply times the number of months in a year, 12. And then how many years you think you have left on the planet based on an average in actuarial. That tells you how many books you have left. And it's probably finite. The question is, are you prioritizing it? Are you filling your mind with the highest priority ideas you possibly can? See, that's what as a teacher, the reason I travel and teach and things is because I want to accumulate the greatest ideas that have been standing, that the greats have created, that allow you to stand on the shoulders of giants and fill my mind with that, the highest priority ideas, and then disseminate those to expedite myself and others to do extraordinary things. And I believe that if you're not taking command of what you're putting in your mind and you're letting the world put things in the mind, you're going to be an average person or less than average. And you're going to be like the masses. So you have to decide, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a moral issue. It's just not a fulfilling thing. And so you want to have to decide, what is the highest priority thing I could put my hands in there? And who, and myself, I've tried to find out the mentors and the greatest books by the greatest thinkers and go on YouTube or go in books or whatever vehicle we can to learn and try to hang out with that and try to put that in my mind to help me expedite the process. So filling your mind with the greatest ideas, prioritizing what you're learning, reading, and putting in your life, linking whatever you do learn to whatever your highest values, that's important. Linking whatever you're doing in your job to your highest values, that will give you momentum, build up a power in your job, and it'll give you more confidence to start your own entrepreneurial adventure. You're going to pay more taxes working for somebody else. You're going to pay less taxes working for yourself. And you're going to pay the least taxes once you invest. So if you want to save and make it easier on yourself financially, take as much money as you can and put it in investments. You pay the least taxes. The government rewards people that it doesn't have to take care of and rescue later on. So it's trying to reward you. So the government helps you you have least taxes if you go and invest. So in the breakthrough experience, I show people this is the way to live. Otherwise, you're going to be struggling your whole life and giving it all away to people that aren't going to be taking care of you. And you'll get a small portion of it back and you'll be working and you'll be struggling all your life. And there's absolutely no reason you need to be doing that. And then in the financial area, you want to make sure that you're prioritizing your bills and structuring, because if you don't bring order to your finances, it's going to be chaos. And nobody wants to give money to a chaotic person with money. You always want to put your money into something that's more ordered than where you are. So it goes uphill, not downhill. Order is the direction of growth and mastery. Disorder is chaos. It takes no effort to have chaos with money. It takes mastery to organize it. So organizing it according to priority, spending your bills on priority, structuring your finances on priority, making sure you're saving, paying your taxes, your education, depreciation. You structure your business where it's electronically done so you have no emotions interfering with it. And you get ahead financially. And then in relationship, ask yourself a very simple question. What is it that they're dedicated to and how's it helping me? What am I dedicated? How's it helping them? And whatever I see in them, where do I do it? And how's it helping me? If you can see them on the way, not in the way, you'll love them for who they are and they'll turn into who you love. And then the next one is the social. Give yourself permission to be a leader. Define what it is you want to lead. I want to be a leader in the industry of personal development and achievement. And I didn't want to be the greatest salesperson. I didn't want to be the greatest golfer. I wanted to be somebody who had a breadth of information and a width of knowledge that could inspire people. And I wanted to share that around the world. And that's my niche. Find out the niche that you want to be a leader in. Define it clearly according to what your highest value is, because that's where you're going to excel. That's your competitive advantage. And then get on it. Start moving on it. Every single day you work on those in high priority, you're going to increase that probability. And in health, your body is giving you symptoms to guide you back to that telos. Pay close attention. Don't take a pill to get rid of your symptoms. Learn what the symptoms represent so you don't have to cover them up with some pill. The pill is there for people who aren't going to master their life. The people who are going to master life are going to use their symptoms to guide them to what they want. And if they do, they'll get there. And then when it comes to inspiration, don't subordinate to anyone on the outside. Let the voice and the vision on the inside become more profound than all opinions on the outside. And why not be the leader? Who's to say that you can't be a great spiritual leader today? But it doesn't have to be religious, or it could be. But just give yourself permission to be a great spiritual leader by living an authentic and inspired life. Nelson Mandela wasn't necessarily a great spiritual leader, but he inspired people. And that's an inspiration. And people sometimes put him on the list of people who inspired him spiritually. The same for the Desmond Tutu, and the same for Gandhi. They weren't spiritual leaders per se, but they were people that inspired people. I want to be somebody that inspires people. That's the most common response I want to see when I get feedback from people, that I inspired them to take action to do what they love in life.
That's great. And you've mentioned a lot of the time, and I think during the course of this webinar, and I know a lot of teachings, how we need to manage our emotions. And you've mentioned the Dr. Demartini method to balance our perceptions and emotions around challenges in our lives. Can you give us a bit of advice about the method, which you do teach it in the Breakthrough Experience, the 2-day seminar, how attending the program, the Breakthrough Experience, we can gain the skills to be able to transform these issues?
Well, as I said earlier, that anything you infatuate with or resent occupies space and time in your mind and runs you. And if you infatuate with yourself or resent yourself, we call it pride and shame. So pride, shame, infatuation, resentment, seek and avoid, pleasures and pains, all the polarized feelings that are incomplete awarenesses. Because if you infatuate with somebody, you're blind to the downside. If you resent somebody, you're blind to the upside. If you love somebody, you see both sides and honor both sides. To love somebody is to embrace both sides. So an objective view is seeing both sides, because objectivity means even-mindedness, not polarized mindedness. And subjective means bias-mindedness. So whenever we're subjectively biased with emotions, the world on the outside that we perceive is running us. And whenever we're objective from the inside and we have a balanced orientation, we run us. So the Demartini method is a series of questions that I teach in the Breakthrough Experience and I introduce, and we actually make them go through it. We actually take them through the process, and they learn how to take any emotion, grief, loss, infatuation, phobias, philias, fantasies, nightmares, whatever it may be, that's in daydream or night dream, or during the day, or interacting with people, infatuation, resentment, anything that distracts them from being present, poised, empowered, purposeful, and productive, and prioritized, anything other than those, I show them how to take whatever their experience, identify what it is, ask certain questions, hone it back into the center, and reestablish the poised state. I show them a science, and it is a science because it works every time. If you follow it to the letter, it'll take any emotion and turn it back into thank you, I love you, I'm certain, I'm present, I'm inspired, and I'm enthused about what I'm doing. So there's polarized feelings, which are called emotions, and then there's synthesized feelings, which are transcendent, which allows you to do extraordinary things. So I show you in the Demartini method how to take polarized emotions that run you into synthesized feelings that you get to run your life by. And they're very empowered, and they magnetize people and opportunities, because every human being wants to live that way. And when they see somebody doing that, they're drawn, and you draw resources as a leader to you. People, places, things, ideas, and events come to you to fulfill what it is that's inspiring to you when you're living that congruently. So I show you how to do that in the Breakthrough. And the Demartini method is a science I've been developing really since I was 18, but clinic for over 30 years. And it's basically a science of asking questions to liberate yourself from emotional baggage that's interfering with you being empowered, present, purposeful, prioritized, productive, and having something that you can say poised, something that's actually centered, that there's absolutely no reason to have stress. Stress is a result of the fear of loss of that which we infatuate with, or the fear of gain of that we resent. So as long as we're living with infatuate resentments, our stress levels and distress levels are heightened. But the second we're poised, we're resilient, we're adaptable, we're not attached to things, we're not frightened about losing or gaining things, we're able to be focused on what's priority. That's what the Breakthrough Experience is about. And that's what the Demartini method is designed to do. That's why I want people to come to the Breakthrough Experience, because I can't share it to them just talking about it, but I can show them how to do it. Once they learn it, they got it for life. And that can make a huge difference. The trajectory of their life changes the moment they learn how to do that and start to see life through a new paradigm. The Breakthrough Experience is a different paradigm. It's not just a self-help little thing. I ask people at the end of the Breakthrough Experience every weekend, how many of you learned something this weekend you know with certainty you could go in your whole life with and not learn? And every hand goes up. And they realize that they just learned a new paradigm, a new way of handling their situation and how to empower their life. So yeah, the method is a very powerful tool. I know it sounds like a bias, but it's the truth. It's stood the test of time, and it's being used around the world today.
Fantastic. And before I make the offer there, just quickly, Dr. Demartini, if someone wants to do the breakthrough experience, and we're going to be putting up the offer shortly, how would attending the breakthrough experience assist them to master their lives and live with an inspired purpose?
Well, the bottom line, I've said much of it already on the program today, but just getting clear about what the values are and your highest value and your purpose, and defining what it is you want to do, and knowing, you'll know all the components needed to live an inspired and purposeful life. There's no doubt in my mind that all the components are there. And so you're going to get to experience and apply and practice all the components needed. You're going to learn how to develop the values. You're going to learn how to dissolve emotions that distract you. You're going to learn how to prioritize. You're going to learn how to change value structures. You're going to learn how to link. All the things that I mentioned, you're going to learn how to do all those things. So, and you're going to apply them. And I'll make you do them, because I want you to get a result. I don't want you to go home and go, well, I never got around to doing it. I want you to do it on the spot, so you know it, so you can't argue with your own experience, and that you learn how to do it so you increase the probability of now you have a trajectory. That's the objective. So the breakthrough experience is going to show you how to empower all areas. It's going to show you how to transform perceptions. Like I said, you have the command over your perceptions, decisions, and actions. I'm going to show you how to do all three of those, because if not, other people are going to control them. And frankly, I don't want to have other people run my life. I'd rather run my own life.
I'm sure at this stage, thank you, John, a lot of people would be love to find out how they can learn to apply some of this advice that they've heard during this short webinar, and find out how they can attend the 2-day breakthrough experience program. So at this stage, I'd just like to tell the audience that we're going to be putting up the offer to the right-hand side of the screen. If you could just look to the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see the offer coming up to attend the breakthrough experience. If you click on that link to the right-hand side of the screen, don't hesitate and book now, because this is a limited time offer for the webinar participants only. So if you book on this webinar, let me tell you what you're going to get. You're going to get an extra 10% of the current advertised price for the breakthrough experience, which is quite a discount, and Dr. Demartini doesn't discount it. This is only discounted for this limited time offer for webinar participants only. Plus, you're going to, when you book, you're also going to receive a free gift valued at $400, which is Dr. Demartini's online module, Inspired Destiny. So click on the link to the right-hand side of your screen. You'll see that it'll take you through to a page where you'll be able to choose your country. Currently, the breakthrough experience is being offered in Australia, Canada, USA, UK, and South Africa. All you need to do is click on one of the orange buttons to go and confirm your seat and attend this fantastic seminar. So book now for the most powerful life solutions seminar on the planet, created by Dr. Demartini. The breakthrough experience is the culmination of 44 years of interdisciplinary study. You're going to be sitting with Dr. Demartini for the full weekend, one-on-one. This is not a facilitator that's going to come on. So you're going to have first-hand experience with him facilitating the two most powerful processes, which he's mentioned in this webinar, the Demartini method and the Demartini value determinant process. The value and the practical applications that these two processes will solve will help to balance your emotions, to expand your life, fulfillment, and potential. The breakthrough experience will also provide you with the powerful solutions to help you resolve any of the issues we've covered in this webinar, including fear, depression, resentment, anger, intimidation, low self-esteem, guilt, grief, or anxiety, or any emotion that you would love to stop running your life. So if you're struggling with any of these emotions, I would urge you to please click on the link on the right-hand side. This is my favorite part of the webinar, because I know the people that click on that link, lives will never be the same, and it's an honor for me to be able to be a part of that. So if you want to learn how to solve challenges, build relationships, clarify your purpose, or achieve goals, and so much more in just 2 days with Dr. Demartini, click on the link to the right-hand side. It'll take your personal and professional success to a whole new level today. Transform whatever you perceive as in the way to on the way. And that's quoted by Dr. Demartini. So again, this is a limited time offer for webinar participants only. So don't hesitate, book now. And we look forward to seeing you at the breakthrough experience. They are coming up shortly in the city around you. Again, those countries are Australia, Canada, USA, UK, and South Africa. So click on the link for that extra 10% discount, plus the free gift valued over $400.
Yes. I'd like to say something, one more thing.
Yeah, sure.
When I was looking on, when I first came on, I saw people. We really have people from all over the world. I'm amazed where they're coming from. And whoever you are, those who have been to the breakthrough experience know the significance of it. They know the impact. I've gotten so many thousands of letters over the years. those of you who have never been, find a way to getting there. Just find a way, make it. You will say thank you. There's nothing more inspiring to me than be able to do what I do in the Breakthrough Experience, watching lives change. So if you're thinking about it, just come. You'll say thank you. You'll be glad you did. It'll be a good investment. You will realize that looking back in your life, that was definitely a turning point in your life. And if you want to empower all 7 areas, if you want to master your life, you want to be more inspired, then make it to the Breakthrough Experience and take advantage of the opportunity that is just offered, because it is an opportunity, I promise you, for the rest of your life. I know in my own life, I wished I'd had this when I was younger. I had to create it. I didn't have anybody that could give me all these little components all woven in one place in a weekend. So take advantage of it, sign up, join us. You'll say thank you. And you can look me straight in the eye, and I assure you that's what we'll end up with. So I look forward to seeing you there and in your country. And thank you for great hosting today. Pardon our little delay on the technology, but I think we got some great message across today. So go out and do something extraordinary with life, but sign up and come to the Breakthrough Experience. You'll say thank you. I love you. Thank you for being with me on this webinar, and I look forward to seeing you very soon in the cities where we'll be.
Thank you very much, John. And again, to the audience, click on that link to the right-hand side of your screen. I want you to be able to experience John the way I have in person, so that you can feel the heart and the energy that he has for people. It's a privilege to be able to learn from someone who's dedicated their entire life to shifting consciousness on a global scale and allowing people to be able to take control of something that may be small, but profound in their own lives. So I want to thank you again, John. Click on the link to the right-hand side. Don't hesitate to book now. Again, it's a limited time offer for webinar participants only. You get the extra 10% discount off the current advertised price for the Breakthrough Experience. Plus, when you book, you get that Inspired Destiny module, which alone will prepare you and do a lot of the groundwork and preparation for you to get into the Breakthrough Experience. So by the time you're sitting in that room, you're ready to go. Thank you, everybody. The Demartini team for jumping in when we had that technical glitch. It's sorting everything out and being on your toes to facilitate and keep the ball rolling. The Demartini team is on standby for the people that are booking on the webinar. If you have any questions or concerns, anything you need to ask, they're available to help you and get you on the program. Fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody, again. Click on the link. We'll love to see you at the Breakthrough Experience in a city near you soon. I'm your host, Brandon Tankard. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, Dr. Demartini.
Thank you.
As always, I'm learning every single webinar. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, morning, or afternoon, depending on where you are in the world.
Thank you.
Goodbye.